We are coming to you from Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where tonight WGN Sports on My 50 presents White Sox baseball. It's Jose Abreu, Javi Garcia, Melky Cabrera and the Sox as they get set to butt heads with Paul Molitor's feisty Minnesota Twins. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ken Harrelson with Steve Stonis. We get set to bring you game 2 of this 3-game set. In the opener last night, we grabbed the lead after coming back 4-0. We were trailing. Grabbed the lead 5-4, but they scored 3 1/8 to win it 8-6. But this year, we've been getting a look at some of the rookies that are going to be with us in the future. And for one of them, the future is now, and he's on the bump tonight.
Carlos Rodon has been just terrific, and you only get one chance to make a first impression. His first impression has been good, and he's getting better. In his last 4 starts, 2-1 with an ERA of 1.61. Overall, he's 6-5. His ERA is just over 4. And by his own admission, he's starting to learn how to pitch. He's starting to take a little something off, put a little something on, and both of those sliders are outstanding. His mound opponent is Tommy Milone. As you can see, last time he faced our Sox, 6 innings, 10 hits, and a couple of earned runs. But lifetime, he's 3-0 against our Sox. He falls into that category of soft-tossing left-handers, and they usually give the Sox a whole lot of problems, and this ballpark gives them a whole lot of problems. They're 1-7 this year in this park.
Well, they talk about football getting bigger and stronger and faster, basketball getting bigger, stronger and faster. Last night we saw a couple of very strong right-handed hitters.
It's really nice to see young, strong hitters burst on the scene because for a long time we didn't see guys like this. Avisail Garcia has tremendous speed to go with his strength. And he hits the ball all over. That's one of the reasons he's doing what he's doing. And as you can see lately, hitting .310, that's not bad. He put the Sox up 5-4 last night with a 2-run bomb. Unfortunately, Miguel Sano on the other side of the field has a whole lot of power. As you can see, hitting .343, and that's over the last 3 weeks. This guy can hit him out any part of the ballpark, and unfortunately we saw it up close and personal last night. A titanic shot making it 5-5. So Sano is one of those young players with power to all fields. He's entertaining to watch. He's not entertaining to pitch to, but hopefully tonight Carlos Rodon can do that.
Well, besides our rookie who's on the bump tonight, we got Trace Thompson and 3 rookies in that lineup behind our rookie pitchers. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
just a few minutes before tonight's first pitch between the White Sox and the Twins. And earlier today, Robin Ventura, talking about his lineup, realizing that Eaton and Ramirez were not in the lineup, was asked about the lineup changes and Tyler Saladino playing shortstop.
With the righty going, I think, some of it's matchup, some of it's, I think these guys, you get to a point where you look a little tired and you got to give them a day. I think for Alexi, it's that. Eaton is probably more of just having the righty in there with Trace and keeping Avi in there. And, your roster's expanded so much, so you have a little protection for having Gio DH today. He's basically played third since he's been out there. And last night, we would put that on the sideburn, but shortstop's a natural position. I think he feels better there. As far as just his natural reactions of playing the game, most of them have been there. He hasn't had a ton of experience at third, so to be able to have him there, if you do give Alexi a day, is something that we've had with him here, but you also want to see it.
Chicago White Sox baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. And welcome back to Target Field. It's an absolutely beautiful night. It's cooled down somewhat. And our Sox trying to derail these Twins. The Twins come in just one game back in the wild card chase, so they fought their way right back into it. New York is leading. Texas Rangers are in the second spot, and the Twins one game back. So at home, the Twins are very good at 41-25. On the road, 27-38, which is not great but not bad. Take a look at the batting averages at home and on the road. There's a vast difference. Runs per game, as you would expect. Almost a run difference between Target Field and on the road. And ERA much better here. This is very much of a pitcher's park than it is on the road. On the road, 475, and that's been one of the big factors this year. Twins starting pitching has not been particularly good. However, they've won 7 of 8 home games against our Sox. This has been a very tough place to play. Everybody talked about the Metrodome as being a difficult place to play. This place this year is shaping up to be just as bad. Paul Molitor, a Hall of Famer, and we'll talk a little bit later on in the broadcast about how difficult it is for a great player to become a very successful manager. We haven't seen a whole lot of that as the Twins take the field. So let's take a look at how Robin is going to line up our Sox for the game tonight. Tyler Saladino leading off and playing shortstop, and that's new. Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot playing left field in the last 7 games. He's been red hot. Jose Abreu batting third. Then it's Avisail Garcia in right field. Trace Thompson in center. Giovanni Soto is a designated hitter with Carlos Sanchez, Tyler Flowers, and Gordon Beckham rounding it out. The defense, and how they'll line up behind Tommy Milone. A couple of speed burners in left and center in Eddie Rosario and Byron Buxton. Then it's Torrey Hunter, the 40-year-old, in right field. In the infield, Trevor Plouffe, Eduardo Escobar, Brian Dozier, and Joe Mauer at first base. Kurt Suzuki behind the plate, who usually saves his best for our Sox. And Tommy Milone on the hill. That's what the numbers look overall. He's 6-4. His ERA, 3.86. Opponents hitting .259. He would fall into the category of a soft-tossing left-hander, and like most soft-tossing left-handers, he gives our Sox a great deal of difficulty. He's 3-0 lifetime against our Sox with a 164 earned run average. The umpires for the game tonight. Lance Barrett is behind the plate. Dan Iasoni is at first. Dale Scott's at second, and C.B. Buckner is at third. So as Robin tries to figure out a way to beat the Twins in this ballpark, we're ready to play baseball. They've thrown the ball around the infield, and that means it's time for me to throw it to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
Hi, Steve. Thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here over at WGN Sports on My 50. Before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours as Tyler Saladino in that leadoff spot and playing shortstop tonight. And the first pitch of the ball game taken up high. This year, Milone 2-0 against us with a 1.32. I mean, soft tossing left-handers just eat our lunch.
Milone, when he goes inside to the right-hand hitters, usually tries to cut it inside. It's not an outstanding cutter, but it's not usually a strike. It's usually in off the plate.
That ball into left field. They got a man there. Eddie Rosario. Sox come in hitting at .251 as a team with a 3.98 ERA. So here's Melky. Melky 0 for 4 last night. Hit a couple of balls hard. What new? Takes first pitch strike. Melky has faced Malone 8 times, has 1 hit. Big gap out there in left center if he can find it. And that's right at him again. So 2-line drive right at Rosario.
Last pitch was an example of what Malone tries to do, and that is go in off the plate and hope you swing at it. Take a look on pitch tracks where this one winds up. You see the 2 is right there inside off the plate, and Melky hits it well, but he hits it right at Rosario.
So here's Abreu. Jose 1 for 5 last evening, 2 for 8 lifetime off Malone. Big rip. We saw in batting practice from our ball club quite an exhibition of long distance hitting. I wish we could transpose some of that to 710 or 715.
So what you're saying is Malone wasn't throwing BP?
No. No. Mark Parent wasn't. No, there was some absolute, I mean, it was fun to watch. From this guy here, went off the facing of the upper deck out there in left center.
Well, if Mark steps out there and wants to pick up a couple of innings, we're in probably really good shape.
Yeah. Rob Brantley was going over everything. Adam Eaton, I'll tell you what, pound for pound, he can hit it just about as far as anybody. The 1-2 pitch. 1-2-3. Brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. By Honda. Great deals are happening at the Honda Summer Clearance event. Now it's your Honda dealer. Subway. Make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at your local FordStores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers who invite you to test drive our award-winning lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com. No score, bottom of the first inning if you're just tuning in. It'll be Dozier, Mauer, and Plouffe to face our 22-year-old southpaw, Carlos Rodon. Takes that pitch outside. Dozier comes in hitting at .246. 26 homers, 68 knocked in. He was 1 for 3 last night with 2 big RBIs, and that's fouled back.
He just kills fastballs if it's middle in, especially. He likes the ball down. And he's shown our ball club at least it doesn't matter who's throwing the fastball, but he's going to get a real good swing at it, as his 26 home runs and 68 driven in would illustrate. He's one of the most dangerous leadoff hitters and one of the better second basemen around.
Well, he is a better low ball hitter, but he can also get you up high if it's out over the plate. Yeah, he's really made himself a good player. Twins come in hitting at .249 as a team with a 4.17 ERA. And that's popped up. That's playable.
Let's take a look at how Paul Molitor's going to line up his Twins. Brian Dozier leading it off, and it's Joe Mauer, Trevor Plouffe, Miguel Sano, Torrey Hunter, Eddie Rosario, Eduardo Escobar, Kurt Suzuki, who's killed our Sox, and Byron Buxton. The defense and how they'll line up. Behind Carlos Rodon, it's Cabrera, Thompson, and Garcia. In the infield, Beckham, Saladino, Sanchez, and Abreu. Tyler Flowers behind the plate. And Carlos Rodon looking for win number 7 on the hill.
Here's Mauer. 1 for 5 with an RBI last evening, hitting at .270. 8 homers, 56 driven in.
We did learn one thing last night, and this is definitive. You shouldn't face Joe Mauer with the bases loaded. He's a lifetime .361 hitter with the bases loaded, including one last night.
That pitch down low. 1-1 the count. And here at the ballpark, 339 down the left field line, 328 down the right field line, 365 in right center, 377 in left center, 411 to the deepest part of the ballpark, just to the left of center. Mauer has one bat against Carlos, and in that one bat he got a base hit.
Here's a look at Carlos Rodon, looking for that 7th win with an ERA of .415. He's on for his 20th start of the year. Opponents hitting .259, which isn't all that bad. Only giving up 10 home runs and just a touch under 2-to-1 walk to strikeout ratio.
Gordon comes in, makes his own hop. 2 down. I love watching young players play.
It's just great to see how many young players have come up to the major leagues this year. In fact, in the month of August, more rookies hit home runs than in any month in the history of baseball. So we're seeing a lot of guys come up that are big and strong. We're seeing some great young pitchers. It's really exciting.
Well, it's the best young talent I've ever seen come into the major leagues in one season. Baseball is very well positioned to be a lot of fun and exciting for a long time. But you look around our infield, you got a 2-year man, 2nd-year man at first, you got a rookie at second, you got a rookie at short, you got a rookie in center field. And with that year he missed, just a 2-year guy in right field.
Lobby's still a very young player. I mean, he's been around for a bit, so everybody assumes that he's a finished product. He's really not.
No. He's just going to get better and better and better.
We're not going to get too much stronger because he's as strong as 2 men would need right now. Just a question of getting some loft on his hard hit shots, and he did last night.
And that's a little bit low, and a full count to Plouffe. 0 for 4 last night, but he had a sacrifice fly. He's strong. He's seen Carlos a couple of times, and he has 1 hit.
The biggest improvement in Trevor Plouffe has been his defense at third base, and they've been working very hard with him on that defensive work, and it certainly has paid some dividends.
And that's popped up right side. The Brave. He's good on those. And that'll retire the side. 1-2-3 for Cardinals. After one, no score. In the top of the first. There you see Gio, Mike Leary, Dave Ross, and the crew. They went with Soto. Steve's going with Trace Thompson and Mike Spadali and Matt Nykiel, Don Esposito, Julie Taylor. We're going to go with Gordon Beckham. And here's Avi. Avi at 268, 12 homers, 51 driven in. I like the way he took that pitch. Another change way out in front. Bare hand, nice play.
Well, that was just an outstanding effort. We've talked about the defense of Trevor Plouffe, and you're seeing the result of it right there. Normally, with most third basemen, that's a base hit. But knowing how fast Avi gets down the line, bare hand, throw in one motion, and getting it there a step ahead of Garcia, this is a big effort.
So here's Trace. Trace, 15 for 33 since being called up. Couple homers, 4 doubles, 1 triple. And he takes first pitch strike. Fastball at 88.
You might see him get it up to 89. Maybe.
That's just off the plate, says Lance Barrett.
What we haven't seen yet was a slow curveball that Malone has. We've seen the fastball. We've seen his attempt at a cutter. We've seen the straight change. The straight change has been pretty good.
That one at 82. Well, here's the kind of guy that, I mean, he's got a history with us. We know what he throws. We know he's a soft tossing left-hander. And when you get a guy like that, as that's poked into right center field, Buxton is there, 2 down. When you get a guy like that, you can't cover the plate on him. You have got to get a plan going in, and you've got to pick either middle out or middle in. And that's the way you have to go, because we haven't had much success against this guy. The way we've approached this, looking for the ball.
No, most right-hand hitters should take the approach that Trace had, which is go the other way. Because more times than not, when you see the ball in, it's in for a ball. If you see the ball away, that's where Malone will go for his strikes.
Well, the vernacular is different now. The semantics are different in talking about hitting today as it were in years past. In years past, when you're going over Malone before the game starts, the mantra would be, hey, just tear him off the mound. Tear him off the mound. Just try to hit, just try to rake him right off that mound. Look for the fastball, and then if you see the change, just try to kill him right off the mound. That one at 81. Soto at 245.
That was the first breaking ball we saw.
Yeah. Hit him on the fist, made a good pitch. That is 6 up, 6 down, very easy. And here is Miguel Sano. Cleanup hitter, DH, 3 for 5 last night with a vicious home run. Got a 3-2 get me over slider, and he didn't miss it.
He also has a pretty good concept of the strike zone, and last night we saw him go 3-2 3 different times in his 5 at bats.
Oh, that ball's hit way back. So Sano, who was American League Rookie of the Month for August, he batted .278, 18 runs scored, 9 home runs, 26 RBIs over 27 games, and it's 1-0 here in Minnesota.
That's the 15th home run, the 42nd driven in, and what's the frightening part about facing this guy is that he is in the infancy stages of what's going to be an exceptional career. He is so strong Rides that ball out against the black hitting background and seemed to do it rather easily.
He didn't even play last year. He had Tommy John surgery and missed the whole season.
Pretty amazing hitter.
Well, Molitor and I were talking about him yesterday, and Paul said he's fun to watch. Said he's going to strike out, but he's also going to knock in a lot of runs. As here's Torrey. Torrey 0 for 3 last night. He's got 18 homers and 64 RBIs.
Well, Paul said that he has a lot of at bats with no contact. He'll walk and he'll strike out a lot. But when he does make contact, he makes very hard contact.
That ball is in the left field, Melky. And that's out number 1.
There is a look at Paul Molitor, the Hall of Famer. When you think of all the great managers, not only in the game now, but great managers over the last, I don't know, 30, 40 years, why is it that so few great players make great managers?
I don't think there's a definitive answer for it.
But it seems like that's been the case.
Sure, it's been the case. There's no question. A lot of guys, I mean, Ted Williams, who was arguably certainly one of, if not the greatest hitter ever lived, is Rosario can't get it. He was 2 for 4 last night. He helped a lot of hitters from the clubs he managed. Pitchers did not like it. So I think the one guy that I really talked to was a pretty good pitcher about who played for him. He said he's just too hard. He can't tolerate mistakes. And if you're going to do that, it's going to be, it's going to be very difficult to manage. Most of your good managers over the years are guys who really never played in the big leagues hardly.
Well, take a look. I mean, when you're talking about Hall of Fame managers, Tony La Russa was not a good player. Earl Weaver was not a good player. Bobby Cox was just taken into the Hall of Fame, was a wonderful manager. I think he was an okay player. I don't think he was
a decent player.
He was a decent player.
Decent third baseman.
But there's so many great managers that were just adequate at best players. It's amazing.
Here you go. 2 down.
I can understand for a pitching coach and a hitting coach why being a star would be difficult to translate to a coach, because what you did automatically, it's hard to pass on to people with much less talent than you had. So that's why some of the great pitching coaches weren't great pitchers, because, like Fergie Jenkins was a great pitcher. He was not a great pitching coach because he couldn't tell a guy how to consistently throw a slider low and away and it would always go there. Fergie could do that, but teaching it is something else.
Saladino. The long home run by Miguel Sano. It is 1-0 Twinkies. Tommy Malone has retired the first 6 he has seen, so it'll be Sanchez, Flowers, and Beckham.
Carlos looks early in the count and tries to take this ball to right or right center. He might have a pretty good shot against Malone, who has really been using the outside part of the plate consistently, and he's going there again.
It's just getting harder and harder and harder to manage today. You've got so many things that come into play. I think one of the big things that really make it a little hard is the fact that you're having more front office people get involved in the lineup.
There's no doubt that that's a difficult scenario for a lot of managers who don't have control of their own destiny.
You cannot take the lineup out of a guy's hand. If you do, that's off the end of the bat up to the middle, and that's going to be a base hit. Couldn't come up with it. Should be. But yeah, that's the most precious thing that a manager has, because he has the best feel of anybody for the guys in that dugout. So and when you get guys sitting up, and having big input into the lineup, that makes it tough.
You got 2 managers, one of the greats, Hall of Famer Paul Molitor. Robin Ventura was an exceptional player.
They're going to give him an error on that play, which is a bad call.
Well, that's a tough error to make.
Yeah, that's a bad call. Here's Tyler hitting at .219, 8 homers, 34 knocked in. The guy evidently never played shortstop, was making that call. That's low and in.
We'll watch it again. You see where Escobar is shaded. He's shaded as a pull hitter. He can't come up with it. Even if he did come up with it, it would have been bang bang at first base one way or the other.
Well, he probably would have gone if he comes up with it cleanly, because he's got such a good arm, but he had a long way to go. But they have an opportunity to change that in New York. They'll send it in. There he goes. Robin helping Tyler out on the hit and run. Made him stay with it and try to drive it to right center, which was a good call. He hit it well. Meanwhile, 1 out.
Cover all the bases for just $79 by purchasing an Abreu 4-pack. Each pack includes 4 upper game box seats, 4 hot dog value meals, and a parking pass. Abreu 4-packs are available now for all remaining Monday through Thursday games. Visit whitesox.com/Abreu to purchase yours today.
So Sanchez at first, and here is Beckham. He got one at bat last night and got a base hit. Four for 14 lifetime off Malone. Gap out there in left center. Just going to get Sanchez, the lead man, so 2 down.
That was a slow developing play in the hole, and even with that error that they charged to Escobar, He's made just 5 errors this year in 99 games.
So here's Saladino. He lined out to Osorio in left field. Softly off the end of the bat into the seats.
Malone originally came to the big leagues. The Washington Nationals brought him there in 2011. Then it was Oakland. Then he worked his way to Minnesota last year. And he's back again.
And there is a solid single. So Beckham will pull up at second. Now you can cancel the post-game show. And it'll bring up Melky. I guess getting back to the real good players. I think probably Alvin Dark would be right at the top of that list, who was a real good player and a real good manager. He went to the World Series a couple times as manager. Not too many.
Well, Mike Scioscia was and has been an excellent manager. He was a good player.
He was a great blocker of the plate.
Yeah, well, that was one of the best things he had going for him. You came away from that collision feeling like you were hit by a truck. With runners in scoring position, Melky's been awfully good, hitting close to 340. Buxton can really throw in center field. He's got a cannon for an arm.
That ball hit hard but foul. Got way out in front of that changeup, trying to stay back. Ball's outside.
Well, Melky is letting Lance Barrett know that it was off the outside corner. But count evens at 2, and you'll see where this pops up. You see the 4. Suzuki tried to ease it back over the corner, and he got the call.
That ball into right field. Torrey Hunter's got a bead, got the ball, and that'll retire the side. We do get a couple of guys on. We get our first hit. Should have been 2. Meanwhile, it's 1-0 Minnesota.
Check out the White Sox baseball blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, visit JeffVuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Kurt Suzuki, Byron Buxton, then back to the top of the order with Brian Dozier. Long home run by Miguel Sano. It is 1-0 Minnesota.
Suzuki had a very important sacrifice bunt in the 8th inning. It was not fielded by Zach Duke. It was going to go as a perfect sacrifice. As it turned out, Zach threw it up the line. Certainly helps if your catcher can lay a bunt down anytime he wants to, and he's got 6 sacrifices this year.
That ball hit hard. Yep. Nice play. Good jump. Nice catch. 1 out.
And fortunately, this park is as big as it is, or Suzuki would have hit one against the wall or out. Melky got back on it, and at the last instant, he just reached up and took at least 2 bases away. Good timing. Good play. And Carlos Rodon, very happy about that. He saved him a lot of problems leading off the inning.
Here's Buxton. He was 0 for 4 last evening. Got some finals. Yankees beat the Red Sox 13-8 at Fenway. Tanaka over Owens. Angels beat Oakland 9-4 at the Coliseum. Heaney against Gray, over Gray, I should say. Cincinnati beat the Cubs 7-4 at Wrigley. Hoover over Rondon. Chapman picked up his 27th save. Marlins beat the Braves 7-3. Conley over Perez.
Buxton now has at least 1 strikeout in 21 consecutive games, and that's not a record you would like to have.
Dozier fouled out to Flowers. Nice changeup.
Dozier's been just a terrific player. Not only his defense, but 2nd in runs, 2nd in extra base hits, 5th in doubles.
Back. Nice inning for Carlos. And we'll go to 4th.
the light speed and head out to the ballpark for Star Wars Day on Sunday, September 13th, presented by Kohl's. Come dressed in your best Star Wars attire and march in the pregame parade around the field. Also, the first 1,200 fans to purchase will receive an Adam Wan Kenobi bobblehead. For specially priced tickets, visit whitessox.com/Star Wars.
Top of the fourth inning in a 1-0 Minnesota lead. Abreu to lead it off. He struck out on the changeup his first trip. Big gap out there they're giving him in left center field. He got a good pitch to hit and was underneath.
Really somewhat surprising. We've seen some shifts on Jose, but not much in the outfield that give him that much room to left center.
The 0-2 pitch.
Able to corral that one, but he caught it.
It found his glove.
This wasn't going to be a base hit anyway, with Dozier playing up the middle, but it's quite a play by Tommy Milone. Fortunately for him, it was on the glove side. He actually caught the ball behind him, and that's that.
Here's Avi. Hit a little slow grounder down to third. And Plouffe made a real good barehanded pickup and throw to get him. Just get him. And that ball's outside.
Lance Barrett is giving a couple inches off the outside corner
to Milone.
He has given Tommy Milone a couple of them.
Hadn't seen him give Rodon any out there. One and two the count. Breaking ball.
Another straight change, only this time Avi expanded his zone. Suzuki was able to block it. He missed his spot. Kurt Suzuki wanted this ball away. It was pretty much low and on the inner portion, but it was effective.
That'll bring up Trace Thompson. Trace lined 1 and 2. Right center field as he takes a curveball strike. Change up. You cannot look for the ball off this guy. You gotta have a plan. You gotta have in this case, a bad idea is better than no idea at all. That one way outside at 81. And then runs that fastball up and in.
Yeah, that's more like a show me fastball. He's going to throw it up, and he's going to make sure that it's in, so he can get you out with a straight change, either down and away or just down.
Well, that's 1-0 still.
There is a look at one of the great songwriters and artists and movie actors in history. It's Paul Simon, who's a good friend of Paul Molitor's. He invited him to the game, and not surprisingly, he's got good seats.
And here's Joe Mauer. Takes a breaking ball strike. Mauer grounded out to Beckham at third. One run, one hit, one error for them. No runs, one hit, no errors for us. That one hit for them was a long home run to dead away center field by Miguel Sano. Yes, he did.
Mauer's reached base safely in 22 straight games. And last night, it took him until his last at bat with the bases loaded in the 8th inning to extend that streak.
Ate him up right there. That one at 94 and off his hands.
Good location for the fastball, especially if you don't want a guy to put it in play, because that ball was a good 3 or 4 inches inside, and Mauer able to just foul it off. That's all he could do with it.
Got to double him up and a full count.
He tries a slider inside, and wouldn't necessarily be a bad pitch, but it didn't get the corner. And it's the 7 that lights up. You see where it is as Mauer now has extended that on base streak to 23 games.
And here is Trevor Plouffe. Hit a high pop up. Corralled by Jose Abreu. And that's up the middle. So the leadoff walk will stop at second.
Plouffe goes after the first pitch, and he gets a fastball right down the middle and takes it right back up the middle. Just barely able to get it by Saladino at shortstop. Mauer cannot advance beyond second base.
So here's Sano. 15 homers, 42 knocked in. Impressive home run last night, even more impressive one tonight.
Last night, that home run to left field tied up the score at 5-5. Came off Nate Jones, and it was a 3-2 pitch.
That strike evens the count at 1. This is just the 51st game that Sano has played. He's got those 15 homers and 42 RBIs.
Good hard slider down and in, and he swung over the top of it.
One and two the count with Torrey Hunter on deck. Another one, and that is foul.
Last night's home run off Nate Jones, it looked like a slider, and it slid its way out of the ballpark. And tonight, the Mazda replay, leading off the second inning, he takes it to straightaway center, hits it high off the batter's eye in center field, and that's where we stand at 1-0.
Hard, high, slow, low. Get over there. Is they going to go? Now they get the double play. Sano was not running.
His hamstring has really been bothering him, and that's only the second double play he's grounded into. So a good job of getting over to first base. As right here you see him, he's not going to be able to run anything out. So they figure it's better to have the big guy than occasionally ground into a double play.
Well, a good job by everybody there. Good job by Abreu. A good job by Sanchez, and a good job by Rodon. And here's Torrey. Torrey had a soft line drive to left field. That Cabrera Melky caught. Beckham. And that'll return the side, so he pitches out of a 2-on, nobody out situation.
Sox fans, you can manage the game along with Robin by logging on to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Robert Morris University, Illinois, offering over 55 athletic teams, and that's more than any other university in the state. For more information on RMU, visit robertmorris.edu.
Gio Soto will lead us off here in the top of the fifth inning. Soto, Sanchez, and Flowers. Big hack of the changeup. He popped up the Dozier. And talking about production from our catchers, Soto and Flowers. Between the two of them, we have 16 homers and 54 RBIs. As there's a strike in the count of 1-2. That will rank 7th in the league in home runs and 8th in the league in RBIs. One and two the count. There's that change.
Sox fans, Saturday, September 12th, it's halfway to St. Patrick's Day, presented by Miller Lite. First 20,000 fans ages 21 and over will receive a White Sox Irish flat cap. So be sure to stay after the game for fireworks. Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner, an official beer of your Chicago White Sox. Purchase tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/SPD.
Here's Carlos Sanchez. Should have had a base hit. Now he has one. So the one out single.
That was a mistake with the changeup as he got it down and on the inner portion. You see Suzuki wants it low and away, but Malone gets it down and in. Cost him a base hit.
Here's Tyler. On a hit and run, he lined the ball into right center field. That Buxton made the play on. Want to know the count. And the count evens at 1. Toronto leading Cleveland 5-1. Josh Donaldson 3 for 4, 3 RBIs. He now has 111.
Pretty productive year.
Well, he's MVP.
Just about in every category you care to mention.
And that change up down low. Just a decent lead.
This is what it looks like in the wild card race with Minnesota a game back. The Yankees, who won today, extending their lead to 4.5. The Rangers right there. And the Angels, who fell off for a while, starting to find their way back into this.
Uh-oh. Makes it. Bad throw. And Sanchez did a good job going into second to disrupt the rhythm on that throw.
Escobar thought it would be easier for him to take it throwing as he steps on the bag. But Carlos right there to upset him. The throw is off the mark. And as Mauer goes up, he can't get to the bag in time. So it's not inning over.
That'll bring up Beckham. Hit into a 6-4 fielder's choice. Big gap out there in left center. Takes that fastball downstairs for a strike.
It's pretty surprising if you expect that Gordon Beckham's going to hit the ball to the off field. You would think Rosario would be well off the line, because down the line usually is 2 bases anyway. But there's such a gap in left center that Tyler might be able to score on a drive that way.
1-1 the count. And the changeup. Not from our standpoint, but purely from a baseball standpoint, it's fun to watch Tommy Milone pitch.
Well, he does work you over and doesn't give you too many strikes to swing at. So if you're going to expand that zone, you're going to have trouble with him.
Checks it up. Two out. And the 2-2 pitch. Underneath, over to Dozier, and that'll return. We're halfway home. We trail it 1-0.
Papa John's Pizza. The day after the Sox score 5 or more runs, get 50% off your entire online order at papajohns.com with a promo code SOX5 at participating Papa John's locations. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.
Eddie Rosario will lead it off here in their half of the 5th inning. Struck out his first trip and takes first pitch strike. One of the young players, just 23. You got Sano at 22, Buxton at 21. 0-2 the count.
Rosario's got very good speed. And occasionally some pop.
Well, he actually has a good swing. Good short, quick swing.
There for a while, that minor league system for the Twins had pretty much dried up. But the last 5 years or so, it's been pretty productive.
Foul tip, hung on to, he gone.
I think Rosario wants to check with C.B. Buckner to see if in fact that ball hit the ground. That ball did hit the ground. Now the question is C.B. going to be able to see it? And apparently the answer is no. He didn't see it. So that's okay.
And here's Escobar. Eduardo grounded out to short. If you're just tuning in, Sox, look to this lineup. Mountain Horn, Beckham at third. Saladino with short. Sanchez at second. Gray at first. In the outfield, Cabrera in left. Trace Thompson in center. And Avi in right.
Last 12 games, Eduardo hitting .391 with 4 home runs, 8 doubles, 9 driven in, and 15 runs scored.
Well, he was 3 for 4 with a big RBI last night. Couple doubles.
I talked to him. He's a natural right-hand hitter, but like so many, you get more comfortable hitting from the left side because you hit from the left side just about 65% of the time.
Never forget the day he was traded. Boy, he was heartbroken.
And we
had tears in his eyes.
We gave up a pretty good player.
Oh yeah.
That was, I think, the Francisco Liriano deal.
Yeah. As much as we all loved him at the time, I thought it was a good deal. Unfortunately, Liriano with us couldn't get his changeup over.
No.
He's done a pretty good job with Pittsburgh. Made himself a lot of money.
I was going to say a very good job with Pittsburgh.
Once again, the payoff. So the walk, that's the second walk.
We'll take a look at it from the side. That's how Dan Iasonia saw it. Looked like he might have gone around a little too far, but didn't get the benefit of the call, so he's aboard.
Well, the last 2 road trips we have had some very, very iffy umpiring. Suzuki lined hard to Melky. Over his head, Melky got a good jump, went back and made a nice catch. Tomorrow, the finale of this series, 12-10 start. The Samardzija against right-hander Kyle Gibson. And then after the game, on to Kansas City. Pretty good pitch, didn't get it. It's a strike for Malone. Outfield slightly to the right. Gap out there in left center. And that pitch right at the bottom of the zone. So 3-1. That figures. Two on, one out.
Don Cooper coming out. He wants to talk with Carlos.
He's not the one you want to be talking to.
That one right back up the middle. So 2 on and an out. Sox fans, show your team pride with White Sox checking and an official White Sox debit card. Only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Bank, member FDIC.
That'll bring up Byron Buxton. Struck out his first trip. 1-3-1 for them. 0-2-0 for us here in the bottom of the 5th inning. If you're just joining us.
In this situation, runners at first and second with 1 out. Twins hitters have delivered at least 1 run 38% of the time, with the league average at 39%. Sox pitchers have been better than that. They've only given up at least 1 run 31% of the time. That's well below league average.
That's into right field, Avi. We'll get it back in. That is out number 2. But here comes the dangerous leadoff man, Brian Dozier, who was fouled out to Flowers and grounded out to Beckham at third.
Dozier was one of those guys who they really liked his bat but couldn't find a place to play him all the time. So eventually he found his way to second base, where he's made himself a whole lot better than he once was. Now he's not only a plus defensively, but he's a huge plus offensively.
That's down low, ball 1. That ball hit hard, but we got a guy there. Back on the track, made that catch. Boy, is he graceful or what? Reminds you of Devon White, just loping back there. Nice play, Trace.
Hey, Chicagoland viewers, it's time for the Subway sixth inning. Text Subway to 97999 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu from Subway. Message and data rates may apply. Subway, eat fresh. And from high above, it's a shot to center field, and Trace Thompson gracefully goes back, puts it away right at the edge of the track. He can really play the outfield at whatever position you decide to put him in.
And the guy that I likened it to was Devon White, was a terrific center fielder for Toronto and a couple other clubs for a long time.
He would get places very quickly and didn't look like he was really trying to get there.
Well, as Mike Leary would say, he's floating.
That's exactly what it looked like.
Saladino is lined to left and singles sharply to center. The 1-2. He's not going to throw a lot of fastballs over the plate.
No, and
in the strike zone.
The thing with Malone is that when he goes to get you, he's going to change your eye level. The eye level of Saladino in that at bat was all down somewhere between the knee and the thigh. Then when he went to get him, he threw him a fastball up and out of the zone, changing eye levels as well as velocity. And you know, the velocity is 87, 88, so that's not going to throw it by you, but it's changing eye levels that will.
Melky has hit 2 line drives, one at the left fielder and one at the right fielder. That ball hit high and going foul.
Just got out ahead of it. Trying to take it down to a very short part of the ballpark, but hooked it in front of the pole. And Malone about ready to deliver pitch number 74.
Just got a piece of it.
Changing eye levels. That's exactly what Malone will do.
He's not going. He's not going to throw you a strike.
No, not that pitch in the strike zone. Up and out of the zone, and 2 up, 2 strikeouts on 2 fastballs, at least 3 or 4 inches above the strike zone.
He's got 6 strikeouts, and here's Abreu. He has struck out. And there is a base hit. So he's now 1 for 3.
He waited back just long enough on a straight change, and even though it was out of the strike zone, he was able to keep the inning alive. Off the end of the bat. And a chance for Avi.
Avi 0 for 2. Blues made a good play to get him, and he struck out on the changeup. Of the 6 strikeouts, 5 of them have been swinging, and of the 5, none of them was a strike.
He's not going to be able to throw anything in the zone by you. He depends on you expanding that zone.
Over to second for the force, and that'll retire the side. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. It's still 1-0 Minnesota. And a 1-0 Minnesota lead.
This is the toughest part of the batting order, and it's the 3rd time through, so this is where Carlos really has to button it down. He's already behind a run, and he's got to deal with 2, 3, and 4 in the batting order.
If you're just tuning in, that run coming leading off the 2nd inning, a long home run by Miguel Sano. There's first pitch strike. 1-3-1 for them, 0-3-0 for us. And the count very quickly, 0-2. The fastball at 95. Two balls, 2 strikes. That's a fair ball. Look at the pick by Abreu. Boy, has he been throwing some leather or what? Nice pick, Jose.
Tough play for the pitcher to make because Carlos has to come in barehanded. Mauer with decent speed. Fortunately, Jose is able to make the pick before Mauer gets to the bag.
That had visions of right field.
Well, the best part of that one was it was the long hop. That ball actually hit on the grass and skidded. Jose, who made a nice pick.
That was not an easy one. Plouffe has popped up to Abreu and single to center. Takes the strike and the count 0-2. That one down and in. There was a nice changeup.
That was a good changeup. He didn't tip it at all, and Plouffe was able just barely to get a piece of it. The key is the same release point and the same arm velocity on the pitch, but moving it back in your hand.
There was another nice pick there by Beckham. 2 down. So here comes Sano.
Pretty good numbers for Carlos Rodon at 5 2/3 with just the 3 hits and 1 earned run.
.6'4", 262 pounds. And he is put together. And if you missed that home run, if you're just tuning in, this coming back leading off the 2nd inning. Bounced all the way back on the field.
Against the batter's eye in center field. For the game, he's standing out there with Kenneth Vargas, and they look like 50% of a real good NFL defensive line. Vargas is a little taller. Sano is a little wider.
Three 3-0. Don't throw him a cookie. There was a changeup. Another one, and the count 3-2. Boy, for a big man like he is, he really has a terrific swing.
Also has a good sense of the strike zone.
Didn't have a chance there.
Hey, Sox fans, check out the Xfinity Fundamentals deck overlooking left field at U.S. Cellular Field. It's accessible from the 100, 300, and 500 levels. Young Sox fans can learn baseball fundamentals from Chicago White Sox Training Academy coaches. Space features batting and pitching cages, base running areas, and more skill instruction. It's all from Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Torrey yanks that one foul.
He's really had a tough run of it since the All-Star break. He got off to a great first half. Been hitting 160 since the break.
This will be pitch number 91. Big hack, according to the scoreboard out there.
That was a good changeup by Carlos. As for the first time tonight, he was looking at his hand. He's had a few blister problems. He had Hunter well out in front of it.
1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. In a 1-0 Minnesota lead.
That was a good hard slider down and in, and if you make any contact at all, you're going to hit that ball foul, as 90 miles an hour bearing right in at his knee, and he was able to fight it off and stay alive.
So 2 on, 2 out, and that'll bring up Rosario.
His back-to-back sliders, that one had more of the plate than the first one did. That time driven through the left side as Hunter with his first hit. Tyler Flowers out to talk with Carlos Rodon. And what exactly he wants to do with Rosario, who's been a strikeout victim a couple of times.
Both times on sliders. Both times swinging. No speed at second, in case there is a base hit.
It's most likely going to take one in the gap to score Sano, as he's nursing a leg problem, but Twins need him in their lineup.
There's that short, quick swing of his. Boy, he made his major league debut back in May 6th. As we take another look at this.
He's a .294 hitter in the minor leagues. It started in 2010 through last year.
Well, he did something not a whole bunch of guys can say. In his first major league at bat, on the first pitch he saw, that was from Scott Kazmir of Oakland, hit a home run.
No, I'd say very few guys could say that.
He gone. The hat trick. They strand a pair. And we're to the 7th, trailing 1-0.
Awfully good. Trevor Plouffe charging a ball, throwing him the same motion. Melky going back and robbing a two-base hit. A line drive back through the middle that Tommy Milone grabs, and then it's Carlos Rodon and Jose Abreu. Abreu doing the hard part as he picks one and retires Mauer. The Speed Replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
Trace Thompson, Gio Soto, Carlos Sanchez. Trace 0 for 2. He's going out. Line drive into a little bit right of center and a strikeout. Curveball. This outside was not a strike. Anything close Malone is getting tonight, as long as Suzuki catches it.
Recently recalled Frankie Montas throwing in the pen. He's got a real good arm.
Change up off the end of the bat, and that's out number 1.
There's a look at Casey Fiend.
I don't care if it's Mariano Rivera. Get somebody in there. We cannot do anything with Tommy Milone.
When Fiend was in last night, and he gave up a bomb.
Gio has popped to second and struck out. Malone 2-0 against us this year with a 1.32 ERA, 3-0 in his career with a 1.64. There's another pitch that was not a strike called. There was a strike and he didn't call it.
Batting .500.
Heads both times.
Well, the 3 is lit up, and you see that it's closer than the 1. The 1 was called a strike. 2 and 3 were called balls.
There was a good pitch to hit, and he couldn't pull the trigger.
Jake Petrichka joining Frankie Montas.
The count is full. Change up, 2 down.
For the second time tonight, Gio goes down on strikes. This one has the whole plate, and Gio was well out in front of it. Pretty impressive numbers so far. 7 strikeouts, no walks, just 3 hits with 2 outs here in the 7th inning.
Carlos is 1 for 2. Should be 2 for 2 if you missed that. Official score gave him an error on a ball that should have been a base hit. 1-1. Watch out.
As you can see, not a whole lot of trouble. 17 pitches in the 3rd, the most he's had in any inning.
Escobar. 1, 2, 3 innings. 7th inning stretch is still 1-0 Minnesota.
Schedule.
Eduardo Escobar will lead it off. 1-0 Minnesota. Leadoff homer in the 2nd inning by Miguel Sano. A bomb to center field. Escobar has grounded to short, and he has walked. Toronto beats Cleveland 5-1. Dickey 10-10 over Bauer 10-11. Josh Donaldson 3 RBIs. He now has 111. Boy, what a season with the leather and the lumber for Donaldson. Toss that one foul.
You'd have to think that he would parlay that into an MVP.
I don't think there's anybody really close.
No. 100 pitches on the nose for Carlos Rodon, who's been particularly effective tonight. But he trails.
Watch out. A bullet right back through the middle. And here comes Robin.
Eduardo from his natural side, the right side, takes a slider right back up the middle for a base hit.
So Robin has made the call. Carlos pitched well, buddy. Another good outing for our young 22-year-old southpaw. He'll depart, and we'll be back.
January 18th through the 24th, 2016 at Camelback Ranch, Glendale, Arizona. To reserve your roster spot, email fantasycamp@camelbackranchbaseball.com or call 623-302-5078.
That should be a lot of fun out there.
It's always great that time of year. And Jake Petrichka comes in the game at 4-3. His ERA 3.48, on for the 52nd time. He inherits Escobar at first base. There's nobody out here in the 7th inning. What a terrific job by Carlos Rodon, but he'll leave trailing and hoping that the bullpen can nail it down and turn it over to the offense. Pretty impressive. 5 innings and 5 hits and 6+ innings with 1 earned run so far, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts.
So Escobar first, nobody out, and here's Suzuki, who is lined to left with Melky making a really fine catch, and he singles sharply up the middle.
Kurt Suzuki is a very good hit and run man. He also bunts well.
He's a manager's delight.
I was going to say, in a situation for Paul Molitor with a 1-run lead, he can pretty much call anything he wants with Suzuki up.
Kurt has faced Jake Meister 4 times, has 2 hits.
There's a look at the Hall of Famer, Paul Molitor. In his first year as a skipper of these Twins,
what a job he's done. Most people pick Minnesota to be dead last. Nobody there.
Yeah, a little cross up because Jose Abreu was charging in, and when Tyler Flowers went to first base, the closest to the throw was the umpire Dan Iasonia. That goes E2, but that's miscommunication. Jose comes in, and Tyler trying to pick him off. There's nobody there.
Well, if Jose had been standing close to the bag, it'd have been a good throw.
Yeah.
But he wasn't?
Nope, he was not.
Now, Suzuki with a 1-1 count. And that's going to get the job done and also get himself a base hit. He is a good contact hitter. He's a good situational hitter.
Well, he knew he was going to take this to the right side. What he didn't know was Carlos Sanchez, for whatever reason, was breaking to second base. Now watch Carlos. He's breaking to second. Why, I'm not exactly sure, as this one scoots through the right side. So runners at the corners and nobody out.
Well, we had a couple of miscues last night in the 8th inning when they scored 3 runs to come back and beat us 8-6. So trouble brewing, runners at the corners, nobody out. And here's Buxton, who has struck out and gone out to Avi in right field.
Dan Jennings is loosening up.
He's getting ready for Mauer.
And most likely.
That's low. 1-1 to count. Seeing Glenn now going through his sequence as he just received from Molitor. might want to stay with that pitch that's going to spin a little bit. The old slide ball.
Yeah, one more hard slider here, and that's going to be it for this at bat. Buxton looks like he's pulling off the ball.
Just got a piece of it.
He went to throw a slider, only that one slid off his fingers and almost hit Buxton in the head.
That's the way to get out of the way of a pitch right there.
Spin in toward the catcher. Try to raise your shoulder. Make sure you don't get hit in the side of the face.
Full count with Dozier on deck.
Buxton has a total of 3 walks in 87 at bats. Make that 4.
That was not what we needed right there.
Here comes Don Cooper with them loaded up for one of their big run producers, Brian Dozier.
Dozier 3 for 7 against Petrichka. Brian, one of the good fastball hitters in the American League. Bases loaded, full of Twinkies. Dozier's one of those guys that's got the attitude when he goes to play in situations like this that he looks at that mound and says, "You're in trouble, buddy."
Well, he knows he hits right-handers better than left-handers.
Big hack on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Jake just reached back and aired it out. Whoa, 0-2.
This last one had some sink to it.
Look at the movement right there.
Yeah. At 96. In that spot, you're not going to make much contact, if any.
Yanks that one foul. The 0-2. Nice pick by Tyler.
This is not an easy ball to handle, as it's well wide of the plate. Tyler able to reach across, backhand it, and save a run for the moment.
He gone. Big out. Big strikeout for Jake. And here comes Robin.
That looked like a straight change, and after seeing 96 and 97, Dozier well out in front of it strikes out for the 126th time. So Jake will depart with the bases loaded, and as he walks out and Jennings walks in, we'll step out and be back after these messages. WhiteSox.com/connect today. So Dan Jennings comes in the game. He's 1-3, ERA 4.60 on for the 38th time. Opponent's hitting .259 against him, and he's got to face Joe Mauer, who's hit .361 lifetime with the bases loaded, including 1-for-1 last night as he drove in a run.
Well, Mauer has faced Jennings 3 times, and he is 0-for-3.
Pretty impressive career numbers with the bags loaded. Wonder if he's ever grounded into a double play. Well, apparently he has 17 times this year.
Always a big pitch, first pitch of the sequence. And he grabs a strike with it. I think he was looking for a little more than he got. Most guys who hit well with bases loaded very seldom swing at the first pitch. Very seldom. Watch out.
He almost drove in a run without swinging the bat. That just missed him. This one way inside, and Power not taking one for the club. Gets out of the way.
To the count. Late call right there.
Joe thought that was a little high. Lance Barrett thought it was good enough. And you see the 3 light up. It had a piece of the upper part of the strike zone.
Outfield around to the left. And the count 2-2. Take him right here, Dan. You don't want to go full. count.
Trevor Plouffe in the on-deck circle.
He gone.
Swung at ball
2 down.
4. There is a break as Joe Mauer really expanded that zone. That ball well out of the strike zone. But he swings through it. And here comes Robin.
So a big strikeout by Jake of Dozier. A big strikeout by Dan O'Mauer. He departs, and we'll be back.
Loaded. Dozier goes down on strikes by Jake Petrichka. Jennings strikes out Mauer. And Daniel Webb comes into the game. Daniel 1-0. He's on for the 20th time. 2.59 ERA. He's going to face Trevor Plouffe with the bases loaded. Carlos Rodon responsible for Escobar, who's on third base. Carlos threw whale of a ball game in 6+ innings. Hoping to see his teammates wiggle out of this one and come to bat in the 8th inning with a 1-0 score.
Well, Plouffe this year with the bases loaded is 5 for 10 with 2 grand slams, and he's going to be sitting dead red. First ball fastball, if he gets it, he's going to turn it loose. That one at 84.
He got a changeup, and that ball drifted inside.
1-0 the count. And he's zeroing in again on that number 1.
Another changeup and 2 pitches inside.
Now he has got the catbird seat.
Great speed at first base for the Twins.
There was a fastball. Good throw's going to get him. He gone. The 2 runs cross the plate. And it's a 3-0 Minnesota lead.
38th time. We saw him last night. He pitched an inning and it was effective. He gave up a hit, fanned one, and it was a scoreless inning. And we'll take a look at a 2-0 fastball. Trevor Plouffe turns it around. It's up and out over the plate, and then it's off to the races. Turns out to be a 7-6-3 put out at the plate of Byron Buxton, who was trying to score the third run of the inning. Instead, he gets cut down at the plate, but 2 score. 7-6-2, excuse me.
Adam Eaton has come out to hit for Tyler. He will lead it off. Rob Brantley has come out on deck to hit for Beckham. We trail it 3-0. Trevor Plouffe, one of the better fastball hitters on the Minnesota team.
Falling behind in a couple of changeups really led you right into what this guy does best.
Well, he had the catbird seat.
Yep.
He just now 6 for 11 this year with the bases loaded. If he gets that up, that would have been a 3rd grand slam.
73 driven in now for Plouffe.
Start us off right here, Adam. Come on.
Trevor May, a big right-hander, 6'5", 240. Last year had a really rough time of it in Minnesota. In 9 starts, 7.88 ERA and a 3-6 record.
Well, I don't care who they brought in. Get Malone out of there. 1 out.
Tommy Malone went 7 innings, didn't give up any runs on 3 hits, didn't walk anybody, fanned 7, and as he has always done to our Sox, he just absolutely baffled the boys.
Well, we had no chance. Had no chance against him. So here's Brantley. There's what he was doing. 53 games, had 8 homers, 38 knocked in.
Pretty solid numbers.
That gum right there. Takes first pitch strike. As I mentioned up front, he, along with several other of our guys, Trace Thompson, Abreu, Ivy, they put showtime on in batting practice, going way back.
Trevor May is just leaning back, nothing fancy. Here it is. See if you can hit it. I got a 3-run lead.
That's it. That's exactly what he should be doing. Saladino on deck. Two down.
We saw that over the top curveball last night, and it was a good one, and that one absolutely froze Brantley. So after a couple of high fastballs, you see where the 4 lights up. Perfect curveball in the zone.
Tyler's lined hard to left, singled sharply up the middle, and struck out swinging. All you youngsters out there, especially if you're left-handed and you're not a hard thrower, you should take a page out of the book of Tommy Malone. That is high into right field. A 1-2-3 inning will go to the bottom of the 8th.
Twins tonight. Sano started off the scoring early with his 15th home run in the second. Plouffe with a 2-run double in the seventh. And Tommy Malone was brilliant. 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, and 7 strikeouts. Honda, great deals are happening at the Honda Summer Clearance event. Now at your Honda dealers. And Frankie Montas comes in the game. That's at Double-A Birmingham. He's 5-5 with a fine ERA, just below 3. That's in 23 starts. Opponents hitting a paltry .219. So 108 strikeouts and 48 walks in 112 innings. He's got a great arm. Larry Garcia takes over at shortstop, which shifts Tyler Saladino to third base. Rob Brandley, who came on to pinch hit, stays in the game behind the plate.
So Montas, first hitter will be Miguel Sano. He is 1 for 2 with a very, very long home run dead away center. So the first pitch, 97, low and away. Back out of Sayanagua in the Dominican. There's that one at 96. Got him listed at 6'2", 185.
185. Was that his bar mitzvah weight? Kevin Jepson loosening up. 185. Yikes.
There's a strike. That one up high. That one at 98. He gone.
He
so
froze
his first major league hitter is a punch out.
When you've got 98 in your pocket, a hook usually is going to get you with 2 strikes. That one just settled nicely in the zone on the Xfinity pitch tracks. And Hermie has the first major league strikeout for Montas.
That one at 97. Torrey is 1 for 3. Ripped a single in the left field in the 6th inning. Ball hit sharply. Carlos has got it. 2 down. So here's Rosario. He is glad to see Carlos out of there. He struck out 3 times against Rodon.
That fastball was 99.
Oh, he can hit triple digits. That's high in the left field, and that's a can of corn for Melky. So a beautiful major league debut for Frankie Montas, and we're into the 9th.
Well, Trevor Plouffe is coming in the bottom of the 7th with the bases loaded, scores 2, and Buxton gets cut down at the plate. Our 4th drive of the game, and that extended the 1-0 lead to 3-0. Kevin Jepsen comes in the game. 3-6, ERA 2.40, on for the 63rd time. Combination between Tampa Bay and the Twins. We saw Jepsen last night. He pitched a spotless inning. Got him the win. There's a look at the youngster making his major league debut and making it very successfully. One strikeout, a relatively easy 1-2-3/8.
All right, let's give him a finish. Cabrera, Abreu, and Garcia. Melky has faced Jepsen 8 times, has 3 hits. Takes first pitch strike. Jepsen right where he should be, and that's out number 1.
That was a good solid flip by Joe Mauer, who showed him the baseball, which is what you should do, and then put a little something on that flip so it doesn't go over his head. Jepsen got there quickly, and Mauer shows him the baseball and then put something on the flip. Relatively easy 3-1.
Yeah, as a first baseman, you want to get it to the pitcher as quick as you can.
Let him right his footwork. Touch the inside of the bag with his right foot.
Abreu is 1 for 3 and 0 for 2 against Jepsen. That one at 94. Just got a piece of that breaking ball. Well, if we don't get something done here, this will be the 9th game that we have played in this park this year. And of the 9, we would have won 1.
Pretty much like the old Metrodome. A lot of things went poorly.
Two down. Javi. 0 for 3. He's due. He has faced Kevin twice. 0 for 2. Takes it upstairs. Gap out there in left center.
Jepson trying to nail down save number 10. Would be his 5th save as a member of the Twins.
So the 22,000 plus. And the 1-2 pitch. Twins have got it for TWTW. Breaking ball fouled away.
They've been dominating here at Target Field. They've had a very strong post All-Star break run, and they find themselves, after seemingly being out of it, right in the middle of this wild card race under the man you're looking at, Paul Molitor.
Well, if they get in the postseason, he should be manager of the year.
Would be a Herculean task.
And when this ball comes down, this ball game will be over. So, Twins shut us out. They win it 3-0, and we'll be back.